Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. My name is Mark, this is Spiguyver Backpacking, and for those of you who are new to this channel, this is a channel that's all about backpacking. I like to get out for nice trips, short trips, overnight trips, or extended, longer trips. I just like to get out anytime I possibly can. Additionally, I do a lot of gear reviews, I do a lot of how-to videos, DIY videos, and I love backpacking. It is my passion, it's what I love to do, and so I love to share that with you guys. And you guys are part of a community joining this group. So always feel free to go down below, leave feedback, leave comments, ask for specific videos, and I will do my best to try and get what you guys want to see out there for everybody. Now, if you haven't done so before, go down below, hit that subscribe button. Right next to it, there's a little bell icon. Hit that and you'll get notifications every time I upload a video. So today I'm out here because I have been wanting and putting off for quite a while doing a beginner backpacker series. And I have finally put together everything I want to do on it, written it down, got it kind of refined to where I think I'm ready to do this. And so now I'm out here to start this beginner backpacker series. This is going to be a series of many videos that go through a lot of the details and try and take a little bit of that intimidation factor out of backpacking and getting started. This first video is the getting started video. I'll talk about what we're going to talk about in the videos, in the series, the videos that are going to follow, and we're going to talk about how to get started in backpacking. So let's do this. Let's go. So like I just mentioned, backpacking can be intimidating. There is a lot out there, and there are a lot of resources out there. Backpacking is not the same for every individual. Each person is going to experience the backcountry, the trails, the wilderness in a slightly different way, and depending on how you decide to do it. Now, there are different types of backpackers out there. There are the backpackers that like long miles. There are the backpackers that like to carry large loads. There are the ones that like comfort when they get to camp. There are those that just really like to get out just to camp. And so the mileage doesn't matter to them. They can do 2 miles, get to a camp, set up, and just hang out all day. There are those that like to practice bushcraft type styles where they, there's been a slew of people I've seen recently that have been doing a backpacking series where they're living off the land while they're out. So they're not taking any food really with them, maybe some emergency supplies, but they're living off the land. And if that's what you want to do, hey, let's get started and do that. But what you want to do is individual. It's all about you. It's all about getting out and enjoying it the way that you want to. There are those that want to get out and see the wildlife. There are those that want to get out and do photography. There are those like me that love getting out and taking the camera and sharing the wilderness experience with others like you. And there's room for all of us. There's room for everybody out there to do it their way. So this is going to be a series of multiple videos. And so let's take a look at the list of videos that I am planning on doing and what's going to be in them. Okay, so for the videos for this series, like I mentioned before, we'll be dealing with clothing, including shoes and rain protection, backpacks, shelter, insulation, food, cooking gear, water and water filtration, first aid. Then we'll get into some things like planning a trip. And once you're out on that trip, how to select a site, setting up and breaking down camp efficiently, how to pack your bag, how to hang a bear bag, and finally, pooping in the woods, because that is important. So as you can see, this is going to be an extensive, very in-depth series that gets everybody out there and ready to go backpacking. So this one is the getting started video. It's not going to be a long video, but I'm going to give you some tips, some ideas on how to get started, how to get out there and start your backpacking adventures. So the first thing I want to say is start slow. Don't rush into it. Don't go spend a bunch of money buying gear. I think that's the worst thing you could do, not knowing right off the bat what type of backpacker you're going to be, what type of backpacking you're going to enjoy, and how you're going to enjoy the backcountry the most. So take your time. ease into it, do a lot of research. There are so many resources out there where you can be overwhelmed and intimidated by the sheer number and variety of pieces of gear out there. But the resources, Facebook has a lot of groups that you could join. You can go on Instagram and look at photos of gear all day long. There are gear reviews. There are written gear reviews. There are video gear reviews. There are backpacking channels on YouTube, such as Spiguyver Backpacking. There are so many resources. You have local shops that you can go to and practice setting up gear. REIs are great because they've got a tremendous volume of gear. The downside is going to be they don't have the custom cottage gear that a lot of people end up moving towards, but they have great variety, and you can go in and you can set things up, you can test things out, you can try them out in the store, and that gives you a little bit more confidence heading out into the trail, knowing that you know how to do it. But before we get to that, before we get to the gear, before we get to where you're going to go to try and buy and source your gear, let's talk about getting started and taking it slowly. So first, I know we're here to talk about backpacking, but let's start with day hikes. Let's get out and make sure we enjoy walking, we enjoy hiking, we enjoy the backcountry, that we enjoy not having modern conveniences at our fingertips. There's no bathrooms on a lot of these trails that we're out on. We are in wilderness areas. Are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with, when you run out of water, having to filter and take water from a stream or a spring or a lake or a pond as you come upon it? These are things you're going to have to consider and understand that these are things you're going to have to accept if you're going to get out and start doing a backpacking adventure. Using those resources that I talked about, specifically things like Facebook or Meetup, you can find groups of people who've already gone through the experience, have already gone through getting started, and have, number one, their gear already set up, and probably have a bunch of spare gear laying around in a closet or in the garage or in the attic or just in a bin somewhere. And I know most of these people, because I am one of them, and I know quite a few of them, most of these people are more than willing to help somebody who's new to backpacking get out on the trail, hook them up with gear, and try to show them the best experience possible. Use those people, use those groups, ask questions in those groups, and try to find a time where you can, after you've done several day hikes on your own and you're ready to make that jump to an overnight trip, try and find one of these groups to tag along with. Let them be the guide. Let them do the planning for the trip. That way, you don't have to have any pressure to know, man, how many miles should I be hiking today? Am I capable of doing that much? Just let them lead the trip and make it enjoyable. There's a lot to it that we're going to talk about throughout this series. We're going to talk about that trip planning. But to start, like I said, take it slowly. Let someone else do the big work, setting up the trip, making sure that you have the gear that's right. They'll guide you to, okay, we're going out for an overnighter. You're going to need to bring this type of clothing, this type of food. There may be some gear that they're going to ask you to bring on your own. But the main things, the backpack, the sleeping gear, the tent, that type of stuff, they probably have spares and are willing to share to get you out there and get you to a point where you can enjoy what we enjoy out here. This is an adventure that is absolutely amazing. So enjoy it. Make sure you use those groups. And I suggest having a couple different groups that you can go out with, because you may not find the group that's got the gear and is doing it the way that it's going to appeal to you. You may be one of those guys that wants to knock out huge miles, and you hook up with a group that does 2 miles, and they're all just into the camping thing, or they're into the bushcraft thing, and you really wanted a nice luxurious tent. I started out doing tents. I still do tents occasionally, but I prefer a hammock like I'm sitting in right now. So those are things you're going to have to experiment with. There are a lot of group hangs out there, so you could set up a tent. You could just drive check out a group hang, and all the people at the hangs that I know of would be more than willing to show you their setups and let you try things out. And so that's the thing. This is going to be a big investment. When you finally get into it, I suggest not just going out and buying the first thing that you find or buying the first thing that people recommend, because this can get very, very expensive. It is a big investment, so take the time to research it and find what you want. Now, I will say, buy the quality gear. There's a saying out there, buy once, cry once. And I completely agree with that, because if you buy the cheap stuff, you're going to end up buying over and over and over again. It's not going to hold up all that well. It's going to be heavier. It's not going to be something you end up enjoying and loving. So take the time, do the research, find the right stuff, and buy once. This is going to be a fun series. We're going to get into a whole bunch of different topics. We're going to dive into them as deep as you guys want to go. Start asking questions. Throw them down below. Make sure that I cover them when we get to those sections. If you've got questions about different shelters, if you've got questions about different sleeping bags or quilts or anything along those lines, throw them down below so that I make sure I've got them covered. I want to make sure I get your questions answered. This is going to be a fun series. I want it to be as interactive as possible, so feedback is critical. Give it to me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys down the trail. This is going to be fun.